Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to install Nocturne version 2.0 on your Spotify car thing. Whether you want to use Nocturne at your desk or in your car, this setup and installation guide will walk you through everything you need to know. Let's get started. To install and run this version of Nocturne, you will need a Spotify car thing, a Raspberry Pi. For this tutorial, I will be using a Raspberry Pi 02W, but other models like the 0W should work just fine. A quick note, if you're using Linux and don't intend to use Nocturne in your car, a Raspberry Pi is not required. You will also need a micro SD card, a cable to connect your car thing to the Raspberry Pi, which varies between Raspberry Pi models, so check which cable you'll need. In my case, I'm using a micro USB to USB-C, and a cable to connect your Raspberry Pi to your computer, which again varies between different models. In my case, I'm using another micro USB to USB-C. You will also need a Spotify Premium account, and a computer with Python installed to flash the software. The steps detailed in this video may change in future releases of Nocturne, so be sure to follow me on Twitter at BrandonSalvin for updates. To get started, we need to download a few things. The first being the Raspberry Pi Imager, Superbird tool from GitHub, the latest Nocturne image from our releases page, and VNC Viewer. Links to all required software, as well as the commands I run in this tutorial, will be included in this video's description. I'll be using Windows in this installation guide, but the steps are relatively the same on all operating systems. I would recommend giving the documentation for your specific operating system a quick look to ensure you're using the right terminal commands and file paths for your system. A link to our documentation will also be included in this video's description. Let's start by setting up our Raspberry Pi. First, insert your microSD card into your computer. Then open Raspberry Pi Imager. For your device, select the model of the Raspberry Pi you'll be using. In my case, I'll select Raspberry Pi 02W. For the operating system, select Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit, and for storage, select your microSD card. Click Next, then select Edit Settings, check the Set Hostname box, ensure that it's set to raspberrypi.local, then check Set Username and Password. Ensure that your username is set to Pi. After you set a password, check Configure Wireless LAN, and enter your Wi-Fi network's SSID and password. After entering your Wi-Fi information, open the Services tab, check the Enable SSH box, as well as Use Password Authentication. Select Save, and then click Yes. Your configured operating system will then write to your microSD card. If you haven't already, download Superbird tool and run the installation process for your operating system. There is a slight difference in the process depending on your operating system, and a link to the documentation will be in this video's description. For Windows, I'll be running the following commands. On Windows, we have to install the proper driver. I'll be doing that with a tool called Zadig, which is also linked in this video's description. After downloading and installing Zadig, you will then need to connect your car thing to your computer in USB mode, which can be accomplished by plugging one end of your USB cable into your computer, holding preset buttons 1 and 4 on your car thing, and inserting the other end while holding. Open up Zadig, and then we'll begin the short driver installation process. If your device list is empty, navigate to Options and select List All Devices. Set the selected device to GX chip. Click the down arrow inside of Zadig to set WinUSB to libUSB-Win32. Select the edit box and rename GX chip to World Cup device. Click Replace Driver, and then give it a minute to download and install the correct driver. Once finished, close Zadig, reopen your terminal, and run the following command to ensure that Superbird tool is detecting your car thing. After Superbird tool detects your car thing, download and unzip the latest image from Nocturne's releases. Next, we'll begin the flashing process. Inside of Superbird tool, run the following commands. As you can see, I'm copying the file path for the image from directly inside of my file explorer. Once you get to this point, hit the Enter key on your keyboard and Superbird tool will then begin the flashing process. This may take up to 30 minutes, but in most cases is completed within 10. After the flashing process is complete, disconnect your car thing from your computer and connect your Raspberry Pi. Connect your car thing to the Raspberry Pi using the cable that fits your model, then open a new terminal session. Change your terminal directory to the setup scripts folder, which is included in the release you downloaded earlier. We then need to transfer the Raspberry Pi setup script, which can be done with this command. When prompted to enter your password, enter the password you set inside of Raspberry Pi Imager. After the transfer is complete, SSH into your Raspberry Pi by running the following command. Again, enter the password you set inside of Raspberry Pi Imager. We then have to make the setup script executable, which can be done by running this command. Once that's complete, we can execute the script by running this command. And finally, reboot your Raspberry Pi by running the reboot command. If you intend to use Nocturne in your car, there is an additional step required which will allow your car thing to automatically transfer between your home network and your wireless hotspot. This can be achieved by transferring the hotspot setup script with this command. SSH back into your Raspberry Pi and execute the script by running the following command. The script will then ask you to input the name and password of your phone's wireless hotspot. After inputting your hotspot's information and allowing the script to complete, you're almost ready to begin using Nocturne. If you haven't already, download and install VNC Viewer. Open VNC Viewer and create a new connection with the VNC server address of raspberrypi.local port 5900. Input Superbird as the password. Inside of your new connection, navigate to Properties, then Expert, set Quality to High, and ensure that relative PTR is set to false. At this point, Nocturne should be running on your car thing, and you should see a button reading Use Custom Credentials. To generate a set of credentials, visit the Spotify developer dashboard, which is also linked in this video's description. Click Create App, give your new app a name, which can be something like Nocturne, a short description, and then set the redirect URI to https://nocturne.brandons.place. Check the Web API and Web Playback SDK boxes, agree to Spotify's developer's terms of service, and then click Save. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen, click Settings, and then View Client Secret. The client ID and client secret are all you'll need from this page. Back inside of VNC Viewer, type out your app's client ID in the first field, and then your app's client secret in the second. Click the Continue button and log in with your Spotify account. And there you have it. Your Spotify car thing is now running Nocturne. Thanks so much for following along. If you run into any issues, feel free to join our Nocturne Discord server where our community is always happy to help. I've included a link to the server in the description below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Brandon Salvin for more updates on Nocturne and other projects. If you're interested in learning about how Nocturne works, I've included a link to our front-end GitHub repo in this video's description.